Oh, hi guys, welcome back. I was just playing with my Lego here. So we've been talking about area recently, and I used my Lego here to demonstrate how when you're putting Lego together, they cover a surface or they cover an area. And today we're going to learn how to calculate the area of a rectangle. Okay, now I know what you're thinking. Well, Mrs. Evans, that's a square. That's not a rectangle. I know, but we're going to get to that in just a minute. But we do have today some new special numbers that we're going to work on memorizing. Let me show you our first one, and that's this one right here. It says 1 square foot. Just like I have right there. 1 square foot is equal to 144 square inches. I wonder why it's 144. Well, let's go back to what we do know. If I were to cover up this square and that square, how many feet, or how many inches, excuse me, are in 1 foot? You would say what? 12, right? There are 12 inches in 1 foot. I happen to have my ruler right here with me. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. 12 inches in 1 foot. And when I went to measure this, that's exactly what I did. I measured out 12 inches or 1 foot. Now, if I were not to measure just lengthwise, but if I were to measure length and then go up and measure a foot up, a foot over, and a foot down, that would make 1 perfect square foot. Now, I've written some abbreviations up here if you'd like to work on memorizing those, because I know y'all love shortcuts. Square can be abbreviated SQ period, and we already know the abbreviation for foot, right? FT period. When we put that together, square foot is abbreviated this way: SQ period, FT period. Now, in order to have, back to our flashcard here, there's 12 inches in 1 square foot, but if you hear the term square, the action word, not the item, like to draw a square, in math, to square a number means to take that number and multiply it by itself. Let's take a look at this. If I were to have 12, and I wanted to square that number, that means I would take 12 and multiply it by itself, another 12. What is 12 times 12? 144. And that's exactly where they're getting this number from. They've taken our original special number, 12, and they've squared it. 12 squared, or 12 times 12, is equal to 144. You know what? When we were talking about Lego last time, I mentioned to you that we would count all of the little squares. And we could totally do that. I could take my ruler and put it back up here on the board, and I could draw out perfectly squared inches. And do you know how many? I'm going to draw one just to show you. Okay, there's 1 inch up and 1 inch over. That is 1 square inch. If I were to fill this square foot with these square inches, I would have to draw 144 of them. 144 could fit inside of that 1 square foot. Now let's go on to our next one. 1 square yard is equal to 9 square feet. Now let's start with what we do know. I'm going to cover up the square, or try to. How many feet are in a yard? 3, that's right. Now let's go with what we've learned today. To square something means to take that number and multiply it by itself. What's 3 times 3? 9. That's where they're getting this number. 1 square yard is equal to 9 square feet. Let's review our first card. 1 square foot equals how many square inches? Well, how many inches are in a foot originally? 12. Now square that number, meaning multiply it by itself. What's 12 times 12? 144. There are 144 square inches in 1 square foot. 1 square yard equals how many square feet? Well, let's go with what we know. 1 yard equals how many feet? 3. Let's square that number. 3 times itself equals 9. 9 is our correct number. There are 9 square feet in 1 square yard. You're doing great. We've got 2 more. Now, for these next ones, we're just going to have to work on memorizing these together, okay? They're a little bit different. Let's start with this word here, acre. Acre is how we measure a large amount of land or property. 1 acre is equal to 43,560 square feet. Now this is 1 square foot. Imagine if we had 43,560 of those. That would be equal to 1 acre. That is a lot of area. That's a lot of area. My only memory hook that I have for this one to memorize this number is pretend like if we were to flip-flop these, it would say 3, 4, 5, 6. That's my memory hook. But we've got to remember, it's not 3, 4, it's 4, 3. 43,560. Say that with me. 43,560. There are 43,560 square feet in 1 acre. 1 acre is how we measure land. This is our last special number for today. 640. In 1 square mile, that's if we were to measure 1 mile up, 1 mile over, 1 mile down, and 1 mile across, it would take 640 acres to make 1 square mile of land. Now, when we were studying California history, we talked about how large San Diego County was, and we talked about that using this, square miles. There are 640 acres inside of 1 square mile. Those are our new numbers that we're going to be working on today, okay? Let's go ahead and open up our books to page 261. It's on lesson 145. Let me go ahead and share my screen with you so you can see what I see. And there are a few things I'd like for you to mark in your book, please. Whenever we have a box inside of a box, a yellow box, you know that that's something that's going to be super duper important. So let's go ahead and take either our pencil or our highlighter or something, and where it says learn these measures, you know that's going to be really important. So let's put a star or something next to that. And let's read these together. Ready? Begin. 144 square inches equals 1 square foot. 9 square feet equals 1 square yard. 43,560 square feet equals 1 acre. 640 acres equals 1 square mile. Don't worry, we'll be coming back to this a lot. Okay, now I'm going to come back to me just for a minute. Now, remember how you interrupted me this morning when I was playing with my Lego? That's all right, I forgive you. Well, I was in the middle of constructing something special for our class today, and it's this guy right there. Can you count how many spots are on this Lego? Ready, go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. This covers an area of 8 square units. Now, we found that out just by counting the numbers of squares that we had, or the little circles on top, of course. Now, we could totally count this out. But can you think of another way that we could have gotten the same answer of 8? we could have counted the number on top, 1, 2, 3, 4, and multiplied that by the number going down, 2. What is 4 times 2? 8. That's exactly right. Now, when we're talking about area, our area is always going to be in square units. Let me show you what that means. We're going to have a formula today that we're going to be working on, and that's the formula for finding the area of a rectangle, and that is A equals L times W, or area equals length times width. Now let's go back to the Lego that I was building before math got started this morning. What is the length? What is the width? Remember, the length is the larger number or the bigger number. 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 is our length. What is our width? What's the smaller number? 2. What is 4 times 2? 8. But we're not finished. We must do something very special whenever we're finding area. And I want you to remember this little square right here, this little Lego. This Lego is a perfect little square. And when we're finding area, our answer must always be in square units. Remember the abbreviation for square? SQ period. Units. So our area of this guy right there, the area or the amount of space that it covered was equal to 8 square units. We found that out by multiplying the length by the width. Area is equal to L times W. Let's go ahead and return to your book. Go down to the first shape that you see in section 1. Find the area by counting each square unit. Remember, area is always square units. 6 feet by 3 feet. 6 feet by 3 feet. You know what? I actually made that one too, right there. Do you see it? Let me get a little closer. There we go. 6 going across. Actually, let me turn it this way. Now it matches. Yeah. If we were to count all of those and add them together, how many would we have in all? We would have a total of 18. 18 square feet. Don't forget to put SQ period in front of the unit for feet. Area is always squared. Let's go to the next one. Now this next one took me a long time to build. 6 feet by 13 feet. Now this is not 16 feet by 13 feet. This is 6 Lego by 13 Lego. Count them all up. Whew. Keep counting. Go on. Go on. Go, 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 go. Goodness, if only there was a faster way. Can you think of a faster way to find the area instead of just counting every one of those squares? Couldn't we do this? Whoops. Let's try that. Couldn't we just multiply 13 by 6? We totally could. And if we multiply correctly, we should get 78 square feet. Now, whether you added up or counted each individual square, or you took the shortcut by finding the length times the width, both of our answers should match at 78 square feet. Don't forget to put SQ period in front of feet. Area is something really special, so we have to put something really special in front of our measurements. Let's look at that last one. That was the one that I showed you first this morning. I'll turn it this way so it matches. 2 feet by 4 feet. What is the area that's there? 8. Now that was easy to count, but it's also super easy to multiply. 2 times 4, or 4 times 2, is equal to 8 square feet. Let's move on down. This time, we're going to be using the formula. Remember our formula? Area equals length times width. We're using this formula for section 2. The first step is write the formula first. Let's start with section 2, letter A. What's our formula? A equals L times W. Area equals length times width. The first step is always write your formula first. What's your first step? Write your formula first. What's your first step? Write your formula first. Next, we will replace the L and the W with what the L and the W stand for. Which one is the length? 7, because it's larger. Which one is the width? 5, because it's smaller. Make your book look like this. Area equals 7 times 5. Last step, solve and put your unit of measure. If you have area equals 35, I'm so sorry, you're super close. What did we forget to put? The unit of measure. We always have to end with the unit of measure. Since we're talking about area, area will always be in squared units. Remember, that means if you're talking about feet, make it squared. If you're talking about inches, make it squared. If you're talking about yards or miles, put squared or SQ period in front of the measurement, because area is always working with little bitty squares, just like you see in my fingers here. Let's move on to the next one, letter B. Start with your what? Formula first. What is our formula? A equals L times W. What does that mean? Area equals length times width. Next, let's plug in what the L and the W equals. Let's take a little vote. Raise your hand if you think the 6 is the length. Raise your hand if you think the W is, or the 13 is the length. Let's see who was right. The 13 is actually your length. And the reason why is because it was larger, it's longer, and it came last, okay? Now, let's just multiply those together. What's 6 times 3? 18, carry your 1. 1 times 6 is 6, plus 1 is 7. Don't forget to square your units. 78 square feet. You're doing an awesome job. Move on to C. 4 miles by, remember, they put the little X, but the X doesn't mean a multiplication sign here. It actually means the word by. Just kind of like for your Mother's Tea picture. I told you to turn in a 4x6 picture, and I put the little time sign. That means by. Write our formula first. A equals L times W. Now, let's write it this time with our numbers. A equals 7 times 4. Multiply and add your square unit of measure. 7 times 4 is 28. What is our unit of measure that we're working with? Miles. Don't forget to put square miles. Square comes first. SQ period is how that's abbreviated. Okay, let's go on to this final section. Section 3 is working with how well you remember those special numbers. So for section 3, it helps me for A and B to go back to what we learned originally, and that is covering up the square units. How many inches are in a foot? 12. Now, let's take 12 and square that number. That means to multiply by itself. What do we get? 144. Great job, guys. Let's move on to B. Remember, go with what you know. How many feet are in 1 yard? 3. Now square that number. 3 multiplied by itself equals 9. Okay, for the letter C, This was the really big number, And you know what? I just thought of a brand new memory hook that I'm going to share with you today. Feet, feet, feet starts with an F. And so does the first sound of this number. Do you remember what it was? It was a big one. 43,560, 43,560, 43,560. How many square feet are in 1 acre? 43,550. Remember, 444, 43,560. Okay, let's look at our last one. This is one we're just gonna have to memorize. How many acres are in 1 square mile? 640. Great job, guys. Wonderful. Okay, turn to the back. We're going to do one problem together from the back, and the back is reviewing our perimeter formula on how to find the perimeter of a rectangle. Do you remember what that is? P equals 2 times L plus 2 times W. Let's go ahead and write that first. Here we go. P equals 2 times L plus 2 times W. I'm going to write it one more time. Okay, let's go to problem 4A. Okay, it says 4 feet by 7 feet. Which one of those, 4 or 7, will be our length? 7, because 7 is longer. 4 will be our width because it's smaller. Remember those parentheses mean, do me first. 2 times 7 is 14. 2 times 4 is 8. Okay, let's add together. 4 plus 8 is 12. Carry the 1. 1 plus 1 is 2. What was our unit of measure here? Feet. Now, students, will it be square feet? No, ma'am. It will not be square feet because we're talking about perimeter. Remember, we have to save our squares for area only. That's super special, okay? We're saving the square units for area only. Perimeter, just put the unit of measure at the end. Okay, guys, I hope you have a wonderful day today. Be on the lookout for letter B because those measurements, they don't match. So you might have to do some converting before you continue on with that formula. Hope you have a great day. I love you and I miss you. And I'm gonna go play with my Lego.